Well, Dara, we've got the census coming up, and what are we going to do? I mean, I'm feeling that I'm in a bloody-minded freedom of mind, and a lot of people are, and we're thinking these guys have demanded consent from us, or they've overruled our consent. They've violated our rights, and now they're looking for our cooperation. And I'm feeling, Dara, like I don't want to give it.
I understand, and I really appreciate the consent argument. However, the issue is when you go to a district court on charges of not filling out your census form, the judge you're in front of isn't qualified to give a decision regarding your consent. If you wish to dispute your consent to the contract, the social contract, or whatever contract it is you wish to dispute, that's not done in a district court. I'd suggest it's actually done in a high court. Now, you might be able to bring it up in a circuit court, but a district court judge would actually only entertain the argument that you didn't give your consent if you already had a court case that you had in the circuit or high court that had been decided by a circuit or high court judge.
Well, isn't that just the law being used yet again to restrict us? I mean, they're going to keep on pushing restrictions on us, and isn't it our job just to oppose, to challenge, to not comply? I mean, no compliance without consent, and that's how I'm feeling about it. And this is a conflict between our rights and an invasion, a relentless intrusion into our privacy. And I think that isn't this a time? Well, no, I'm not even going to ask you. I'm saying that I am feeling bloody-minded about this, and a lot of people are, and we're just not going to do it.
Okay, I'm with you on that, and of course, I'm a very bloody-minded person myself. But that said, I'm an engineer, and I love data, and when I was watching the CSO throughout all of the pandemic, and they were doing a really good job up until they got shut down. After the vaccines started coming out, the CSO, the clamps were put on the CSO, and we got no figures from the CSO for a very long time, up again until recently. Yeah. So I want to take this opportunity to give my support to whoever is in the CSO and really doing the best that they can do for the Irish people. So when I look at this, I think there's room to say, I believe some of the questions are very intrusive. Now, I haven't seen these questions, but I don't see the issue with not answering those questions. Fill out all the pertinent questions and just don't answer the invasive questions, rather than putting something on the outside of the envelope, like no contract, no consent. Because then the census collector, he's going to know that envelope is a protest envelope. Whereas you could do your protest inside the envelope by just not answering the invasive questions, and no one will ever really know that it was you that done that protest. So you don't end up in that court situation where it gets dragged. We all know what the court situation is like, right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and look, you've probably thought of this through a bit more than I have, but I know that in the past I've refused to fill out census forms, and there were no consequences for me. I mean, I've even stories of my great-grandfather dodging the census back in wherever, and I think it's a healthy attitude to, especially in times of state overreach, to oppose filling in the census. But I've got a feeling that this is not a critical issue, even though we're in disagreement over this. I don't think it's a critical one whether we do or don't fill in the census. I think we can register opposition in both ways. But I do think it is one where we can't do, to have a strategy, we can't do both. We can't do a bit of filling in the census and a bit of not filling in the census if we want to have a big impact. So, yeah, I mean, it's up for persuasion.
Well, the way I look at it as well is that, I think it's something that the armchair generals got behind because it's something that they can do from their armchair. Now, there's no consequence to these armchair generals telling you to not fill out the form because often the armchair generals don't follow their own instructions, So for me, because of the data situation in the year of a pandemic, I think this information is really vital. I also think that the performance of the CSO justifying me recommending cooperation with them on most of the questions, at least. And rather than have armchair generals provide the government with a platform for undermining whatever comes out of the CSO, really what we're looking at is that the armchair generals are promising us a national campaign of not answering the census form, when really the armchair generals have never delivered a national campaign. We don't have the capacity even to put this course of action even in front of the people of the nation. We only get to put it in front of our followers and the people who listen to us. So we can't roll out a national campaign.
Well, look, there's no doubt that figures are being shamelessly manipulated, and I was disgusted that the suicide figures were just hidden from people. In fact, suicide figures just haven't been taken for the last 2 years, and there's a whole other story to that. But my feeling is that the armchair generals, I think there's a discussion to be had there, Dara. Because you disagree with me, are we to see this as a black and white issue, whereas there's an agenda, them against us, and you've betrayed me because you're not holding the line on opposing the census, and now, Dara, you're a shill, and you're a traitor to what we're trying to do?
Well, as usual, we're too late to the game, and really what the armchair generals should have been doing was mounting a campaign a month ago against the questions that were in the census. That's what should have been happening, and we should have had a national campaign. Sorry, guys. We should have had a national campaign regarding the questions. But to turn around, having failed to do that for the last month, and say, well, don't fill out the census form. It's a bit, the horse has gone out the gap. Like the vast majority of the country will fill out the census form, will answer all the questions, and basically the 30 or 40,000 people who we could possibly deliver into not filling out the census form, it won't make a difference to the numbers,
Yeah, I get you. And look, I know, Dara, I know you a long time. I know that you're taking a position, a reasoned and logical position, and I'm taking another reasoned and logical position, and we have a conflict of choices here, and that requires tolerance, not rejection or alienation. So that's what fascists do. That's what totalitarians do. That's what authoritarians do. In the democratic world, two conflicting choices, for them to cooperate or live together, we have to have tolerance. I think within our movement, we're seeing a lack of tolerance. I mean, I know, Dara, that you're committed, you're not a shill, and there are lots of other people who are in the same position. And it also is a statement on our opposition. It's not a black and white, united opposition we face, I don't believe. And to treat ourselves as a cohesive group and the forces that we oppose as a cohesive group is naive. There's actually a plethora of different interest groups amongst ourselves and amongst them, and trying to make us into a block and them into a block is not understanding the world we live in and not understand the struggle that we're in.
And it deprives us of this debate.
Yeah.
My position is much more refined because I'm having an argument with you.
Yeah.
And I hope you're getting something from my arguments that refines your position a bit better.
Yeah, well,
and that, we need that. We're not even allowed to discuss these stuff on the mainstream. So if we can't have disagreement between us, then we're all just automatons.
Yeah.
And this is how opinion develops, is that you have disagreements and you don't fall out.
And like I've in a staged way called you a shill and all that kind of thing. You haven't called me a shill, and you could have, but you had sense. You know, that's you had a bit of sense, and I think that's a virtuous place to be coming from. And I want to go a bit more into the complexity of the world we're facing. And I'm not sure that there is a master plan behind all of the issues that we face. I think there's a spirit of the age which is manifesting in different departments, in the Irish government, in the EU, World Health Organization, popular culture, all these kind of things. And I think all these different groups need to be addressed separately. You know, we have to win this struggle group by group, bit by bit, addressing people in a directed, personal way. A theoretical statement or a coverall theoretical statement will not address the issues. And I think that if we're going to the youth talking about in the intricacies of the New World Order, it's not an argument which is going to go very well. I think we need to be able to have a very diverse way of approaching things, and that means not being legalistic. That means being empathetic. It means being able to, and we've got to reclaim all these words. Just because the other people are fluid doesn't mean we can't be fluid. You know, just because they're claim we're intolerant doesn't mean we can't claim they're intolerant. You know, so there is a conflict. We are in a contest, but I think that we got to be a much more. We've got to understand this in much less black and white terms.
We've got to value different opinions. We've got to value each other's opinions, even when they conflict with what we hope for. And I would rather, when you and I argue, you will help me make the point that I'm not making very clearly, just so that when you're responding to the right point. You know, that's how you have arguments between allies. You help each other make your points so that everybody is very, very clear about the issues. And that's not where we are. Where we are at the moment is that somebody says something that you don't entirely agree with, but don't fully understand. And you just go off calling them names and becoming illogical and emotional. That's not how debate works. And whatever it is that we're building, I'm only considering building something with free speech and tolerance for diversity of opinion and diversity in debate. And we have to have honour and integrity when dealing with people who we disagree with. And we have to make sure that we're addressing the actual points that they're actually making and not strawmanning them into an argument that's easier to win.
Yeah, otherwise we're just bullies like everybody else.
No, we're not going to be that way. We're going to have proper discussions, and we're going to get to the right point. And the truth, we have to get to the truth all the time. The truth is what exposes these people, and that's what I'm advocating for, is truth. And it means honesty and integrity in debate. That's truth also. You can't just use deflectionary tactics and illogical strawmans and illogical personal attacks in order to deflect away from the salient point in the debate.
And I think we have to be prepared to believe we are not always right. You know, we are well capable of getting it wrong. And we need to have a bit of a sense of humour about that. You know, not take ourselves so seriously. You know, the truth, the universe, all these things, we don't understand it all. We have limited understanding. And, we're going to be wrong from time to time. But what we're doing is we are taking responsibility for the environment we are in a truthful way, and we're doing it as best as we can.
All right, guys. That's the talk on the
Put it
Census.
there, man. Yeah, there we go.